Right, so for this assignment, you are going to create a catching game where things fall from the sky and your sprite needs to either catch or not catch them, depending on if they're healthy or not. We'll just do the healthy ones in this example, so it's not too long. All right, I like the cat, but let's pick a different sprite. So we'll come here, we'll search. Let's see, they've got some fun stuff in here, but one of the little guys that's caught my eye, let's see, I think his name's Pico. There he is. All right. So, that's kind of big. All right, let's go to the costumes. Let's click on our select tool. And we're just going to make Pico a bit smaller. Okay, maybe that's a little too small, a little bigger. All right, and then move Pico down here. Now, one of the things that we are going to need for our game is a ground that is a color. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a rectangle, and I kind of like red for this, so red. Okay, and then draw yourself a little rectangle down here. Make sure it covers the whole area. Okay, and Pico's just right on top. Awesome. All right, let's go to the code. So, Mr. Pico, when we got to move back and forth, right? So when the left arrow is pressed, you are going to move -30 steps. And if the right arrow is pressed, you're going to move +30 steps. All right, let's see how that works. Yep, perfect. All right. So that's good for now. Now let's decide what's going to come falling from the sky. Oh, hey, apple. Let's do that. All right, so our apple is going to need to fall. So we'll go to the event. So when this is clicked, when our flag gets clicked, first of all, we want it to be pointing in the right direction. So this is pointing, like it'll move left and right, but we want it to move down. So we're going to point in direction down, and then forever we're going to have it move, move 5 steps. So let's see what that looks like. Perfect. That was a good speed. All right. Now, when it hits the bottom, it needs to do something, and when it hits Pico, it needs to do something. So let's add an if. So if it is, let's say, touching Pico, then something happens. And then if it is touching the color, and what color? So if you click on this and come down here to the little paint dropper, this way we get the exact red color of the ground. All right. So we need a score. This is called a variable. So we come over here and we make a variable, and we call this one score, and it's going to be for all sprites. Okay, so now that we have that, so if the sprite touches Pico, then we want to change the score by 1 because he caught it. That's good. But if it touches red, the ground, he missed it, so then the score is going to change by -1. All right. Now, we also need this to get back up to the top, right? So let's say that, after it's done that, go to, and rather than have it go to the same place every time, let's pick a random number for x. So x goes negative 235 to 235. And then y, we want y to be about 172. That's like the top. All right, and then let's do the same thing if it touches red. So we're going to go to and pick a color. Pick a random number. Minus 235 to 235. Oh, this guy's freaking out. Let's just stop that. And 172. And we could also make it harder, right? So let's say that it changes the size by minus 10. So it's going to get smaller as it goes. Okay, let's try this out. Okay. Now notice my score right now is negative 23. So we'll fix that. But look, the apples are getting smaller as they go. Perfect. All right, so a couple things. Let's set the score to 0 when we first start. And we're also going to need to set the size to 100%, right? So that the apple goes back to normal. So let's try that. Okay, so there we go. It's getting smaller. Awesome. All right, so we have it going to all these different places. All right, so what happens when the score reaches certain things? Well, let's do that. So when the flag is clicked, and so now we're on Pico, and we want to do this forever. So we'll put a forever in there. So if, and then the score is greater than, so we'll just come here and grab score. So if the score is greater than 10, 10, do something. And then if the score is less than, so make sure you grab the less than one this time. Now, it might, depending on, they might miss the first. So let's say if it's less than -2, right? So give them a couple of misses to get going. And then what is going to happen? All right, so we want like a you win and a you lose. And there's a couple ways we could do this. We could broadcast, we could do different things, but let's do it with a backdrop. So I'm going to add a backdrop. Oh, I meant to draw a backdrop. I'm going to paint a backdrop. And let's start with a win, which to me is green. All right, and we'll use the text, and we'll type in you win. All right, kind of move that where we want it. And we'll call this win. All right, let's add one more. This time red, because you lose. Seems like that would be in red. And call this lose. All right, so we go back to Pico. And so if we win, then this is a look. We're going to switch the backdrop to win. And if we lose, we switch the backdrop to lose. Now there's this thing called stop all. That's a great thing to throw in there too, so that the apples stop falling when the backdrop switches. Now because these backdrops are going to switch, we cannot forget that we need to have the first backdrop start us off. So when we click it, we're to normal, and then we go. So let's see how this works. Okay, so let's do lose first. So all right, so -2. So if I go over that, you lose. Perfect, right? And then if I can manage to win, yikes. All right. Okay, one more. You win. Oh, that's so good. All right. Now, one apple, come on. We can do better than that. And you are on your assignment. You're going to have some good things and some bad things. But let's add a sprite real fast. Let's add a banana. Now, here's something cool, right? Like, we've got all of this in here. We don't want to do it over again, right? And it's basically the same thing for our banana. So what we're going to do is we're just going to take this and drag it to the banana, let go, and so now the apple still has it, but now the banana has it too. Kind of move it up here. All right. One thing that we'll probably want is we don't want these to drop at the same time every time, so let's add in a wait. So here we have wait for 1 second. But let's do a random number. Let's wait for, so for the apple, we'll go between 1 and 3 seconds. And then for the banana, we'll wait for between 2 and 4. So sometimes they'll come at the same time, sometimes they will not. All right, let's see how that looks.
Morning, teachers. Please take attendance and require a slip to class from now on. Thank you very much.
All right, so did you see how they just kind of hung out at the top up there? We can fix that. So we're on our banana. So what we're going to do is we are going to hide at the beginning. And then we will show when it's time to come down. So we will hide at the beginning and then show when it's ready to come down. So now let's try that. So I can move around, nothing's happening. Oh, there's my first one. That was fast. All right. So we got all of the things. The only difference for your assignment, right, is so you'll have some unhealthy things that Pico needs to avoid, or whoever your sprite is. So in that case, right, if we were to switch, so the apple, so if it touches Pico, so like let's say I had like a Cheeto, so if the Cheeto touched Pico, it would be -1 here, and if I missed it, I avoided it, then it would be a +1 here. So you are going to play around with this and have some fun, and I'm excited to play your catching game.